Hello. Jai Jinendra, Namaste, and Sat. Welcome everybody.
Thank you, Kishore. Thank you. I would like to invite President of Jain Center, Virendra Bhai, who is always very helpful, enthusiastic, and encouraging for this program. Virendra Bhai.
Thank you, Guru Bhai. Thank you, Ilagan, and welcome to Jain Center. It's such a wonderful opportunity to see all of you here. Please be assured that we have a lot more audience because a lot of people is going to watch it on YouTube. So you are not speaking to this audience alone, but you are actually speaking to a lot of people. And in this time, this is the best thing which can happen. We know what is going on in our country. So much misunderstanding, so much division, and we could not have done better than sending this message, at least among the community members, that no, this is whatever is happening, particularly not good, is not what America represents. America represents all of you, diversity and coexistence and peaceful. So please enjoy and let us know if we can make your visit here any more comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to introduce you the co-chair or the coordinator of the program, the Heritage Seminar, Ila Mehta. Please, you would like to say a few words and then we'll proceed. Thank you.
community. Sorry about that. Interfaith community, friends and family, please accept my humble greetings. Namaste. It is great pleasure and proud privilege to meet, greet and mingle together on the name of peace and in memory of our Mahatma Gandhi. Really, I am deeply touched by the gracious presence of all of you and your interest to promote peace and non-violence. As such situation around us is very disturbing. Every day we see people are dying because of war, violence, torture and terrorism. Our world is terrified with miseries, pain and sorrows. Other side, natural disaster also taking a toll from us. What should we do? Anything we can do? What role is left for us as simple, ordinary people, loving parents and faithful civilian? What we can do? Does it require a lot of finance? Is required lot of weapon or lot of work? I think is the air, wind, water and sky is totally free for us. We can also do that very easily from our home. Just to meet, greet and mingle together, so our fear for different religion will go away and we will pass our time for the positive activities. We don't have to go far away. We can do from our neighbor, our friends and family. So today is our mission is to promote peace awareness. Our vision, cultivate inter-religious harmony, and our approach is to seek or cultivate respectful, appreciable and cooperative relationship in society. I really stretch my hand for peace partnership. I will join my hand from the God. Give us the blessing to work a little bit for us, for peace and non-violence. Just two good sentences, little hand, and pass your time for the positive activities. That's our mission. And if you can join in the business, I will be a peace partner with you. God bless United Kingdom of Human, and we can get the happiness. Now it's time for prayer, and I like to invite Arvind Bhai Joshi for it is very much liked by Bapu વૈષ્ણવ જન તો તેને કહીએ. અરવિંદભાઈ પ્લીઝ.
વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ જે પીડ પરાઈ જાણે રે, પર દુખે ઉપકાર કરે તોય મન અભિમાન આને રે. વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ સકળ લોકમાં સહુને વંદે, નિંદા ન કરે કેની રે. વાચ કાછ મન નિશ્ચલ રાખે, ધન ધન જનની તેની રે. વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ જે પીડ પરાઈ જાણે રે. વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ સમદ્રષ્ટિને તૃષ્ણા ત્યાગી, સમદ્રષ્ટિને તૃષ્ણા ત્યાગી, પરશ્રી જેને માતરે, જીવ થકી અસત્ય ન બોલે, જીવ થકી અસત્ય ન બોલે, પર ધન નવ જાલે હાથ રે. વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ જે પીડ પરાઈ જાણે રે. વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ મોહ માયા વ્યાપે નહીં જેને, દ્રઢ વૈરાગ્ય જેના મન મારે, રામ નામ શું તાળી રે લાગી, રામ નામ શું તાળી રે લાગી, સકળ તીર્થ તેના તન મારે. વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ જે પીડ પરાઈ જાણે રે. વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ વણલોભીને કપટ રહિત છે, કામ ક્રોધ નિવાર્યા રે. ભણે નરસૈયો જેનું દર્શન કરતા, ભણે નરસૈયો જેનું દર્શન કરતા, કુળઈ કોતેર તાયા રે. વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ જે પીડ પરાઈ જાણે રે. પર દુખે ઉપકાર કરે તોય મન અભિમાન ન આણે રે. વૈષ્ણવજન તો તેને કહીએ.
Now I like to invite all the speaker for invocation and lightening the peace lamp. Please come up on the stage close our mayor and Solanki.
Right here, in front of you. Right here, please.
Kishori Bell. Now we're going to start first our invocation. I hope we can stay with our time and small and sweet, auspicious invocation. Those who are our religious leader, if you can one by one. Kishore Bell. I think you can start, Swamiji, one small invocation. Okay? Just all these religious leaders, we are looking very straight with you and give us a real good peace.
भद्रं कर्णे विशृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
यथा अहुवैयो अथा रतो अशाचिखचा वन्केउष दजदा मनंगो श्योतननाम मंकेउष मzdai kastrencha auraya yim tregubyo dadatvastare.
Blessed is the spot, and the house, and the place, and the city, and the heart, and the mountain, and the refuge, and the cave, and the valley, and the land, and the sea, and the island, and the meadow, where mention of God hath been made, and his praise glory.
gracious God, we praise and thank you for this day. You whose center is everywhere and circumference nowhere, be with us as we gather people of all faiths, sharing in our common concern for peace and your love for all of us as your children. And this we pray in your most holy name.
Oseh Shalom Bimromav, V'yaseh Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'al Kol Ha'olam. May God, who makes peace in the heavens above, help us to create peace on earth for us, for the people of Israel, and for all the peoples of the world. And we say, Amen.
Thank you. Now I will invite all the speaker and our guest for lighting the peace lamp, and we can concentrate our mind on peace and non-violence. Kishori Ben, please, can you start your bhajan, Jyoti Kalash?
ज्योति कलश चलते ज्योति कलश चलते ज्योति कलश चलते ज्योति कलश चलते गुलाबी लाल सुनहरे रंग दल बादल के ज्योति कलश चलते श्यामल छवि जलते श्यामल छवि जलते ज्योति कलश छलके ज्योति कलश छलके ज्योति कलश छलके।
Let's take our seats now.
Please have your seat, please. Thank you very much for your participation. It was wonderful ceremony. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start our seminar now. Myself and Dr. JSC are the moderator. I'm going to moderate first session of it. Second session will be monitored by JSY. So our first speaker of the day today is Dr. Sitendra Dhamin. He will talk upon Gandhi as a peace leader. And Dr. Shah will introduce him since they are very good friends. Dr. Shah.
Jai Jinendra and welcome. Before we start, I want to make some housekeeping announcements. First of all, we are here to listen to our speakers. So please do what we are here for. If you have your cell phones or your papers, pages, anything which can make noise, your mouth, whatever, please shut it off. Thank you. If you need to use restrooms, they are on the right side. So you can use it. No need to worry about it. First session will have until 2:45. Then we'll have 25 minutes of break. And please stick to the time. We will try our best to finish the program on time if you cooperate with us. And after the break, we'll reconvene for our second session. Dr. Gurund Bhai said, my friend Dr. Diman. And I say this way, we all are friends, even though we meet first time, so I would say we all are friends, never met before. That's how Dr. Diman is to me. This is the first time I'm meeting him personally, but we have come so close that like we are friends. Thank you. It's a very difficult job to introduce such a great person in short time. I was given only very short time to introduce him. If I really want to do a good job, I need 4 hours of time, whole program, because he has 15 pages of introductory information there. I will do my best in a very short time. Dr. Sitendra Dhamin, he was born in last millennium in one of the wealthiest and healthiest state of Punjab in India. He came to United States before teaching over there. At 30, he came over here. And he has accomplished so much, and rather than I say much, let's hear from him. He is a PhD, Dr. Dhamin, Associate Dean, and Chair and Director of MBA program at Woodbury University. He has authored and co-authored 17 books. I could not bring all 17 books, but one of the most important books, which is relevant to our today's program, Gandhi and Leadership. This is one of those books he has written, and he has peer-reviewed more than 40 articles. He is a co-founder and co-director of 2 organizations on workplace wellness and excellence. And his accreditation accreditation mentor to 10 universities in several continents, including USA, Europe, Canada, and Asia. And he completed his advanced executive leadership program at Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton. Such an accomplished person, we are so lucky to have him in front of us as our keynote speaker. So please join me in inviting Dr. Satinder Dhiman.
I am delighted to be here, and I thank Dr. Shah for this wonderful introduction. I bow down to Swami Ishwanandaji, and it is such a delight to be here when Dr. Shah called me, and the topic is very close to my heart. When I wanted to work on a particular leader, Gandhiji's name came to mind, and who else can match that? And he was indeed the apostle of peace. There is no question about that. So I'm going to share a little bit understanding. I met with Narayan Desai, the son of Mahadev Desai, and also Gandhiji's grandson, and Arun Gandhi, and also granddaughter Ila Gandhi. For my book, I interviewed some other dignitaries who have worked with Gandhiji. Manubhai Patel from Baroda, who was now retired MP. So I had good time in understanding the beauty of this leader. But what I was intrigued was, I'm going to, in the interest of time, fly through certain slides. There are more than 400 biographies of Gandhi. 100 closely printed volumes of his own writings. But still, he continues to be a puzzle, an enigma. No one so well known is so little known. This is from one of his own grandsons, Rajmohan Gandhi. 1930s, he was very famous. He was on the cover of Time magazine. Shared that with Einstein. One little girl wanted to take his autographs, and she looked at Gandhi, and she saw a person with mended glasses and very sparsely attired. She couldn't believe it, so she kind of retreated back and asked her mother, "Mummy, is he really that great?" Because she couldn't make out that this wonderful person is the person who carried the entire Indian subcontinent on his shoulders. Let's see his greatness. His celebrated British biographer calls him that Gandhi was perhaps the greatest human figure of the last 1900 years. Not just the greatest leader, but the greatest human being of last 1900 years. On his 70th birthday, this is what Einstein had to say, generations to come will scarce believe that such a man as this one ever in flesh and blood walked upon this earth. Because he was so removed from normal human being, the rut of human life. Here we have Will Durant, the American historian. You can fault people coming from India praising Gandhi. You can say, they are kind of a little bit patriotic. But this man, Will Durant, is an American historian par excellence. He went to India in 1930s and he wrote a book, A Case for India. In that book, he says, we have an astonishing phenomenon of a revolution led by a saint. Now, was Gandhi really a saint? Mahatma was not Gandhi's first name, as some of us already know. Mahatma literally means a great soul. This is a honorific title given to him by, according to one source which many people have come to consider as reliable, Rabindranath Tagore, and these titles sat on Gandhi, and he was himself not very comfortable being called Mahatma. Here is what he said. He said, I myself do not feel as a saint in any shape or form, but I do feel I am a votary of truth. He was influenced by, when he was young, we are told that he saw several times the Harishchandra play, who is known as Satyavadi Harishchandra, and that had influence on Gandhiji. When Gandhiji was growing up, his father had a lot of Jain friends, and those Jain friends used to come to his house and they used to discuss ahimsa. So that very early in the formative years affected Gandhiji's view of life. So there is that connection right there. Was he a saint politician or a politician saint? Gandhiji has said that only half-jokingly that he was instead a politician trying to be a saint. People were saying that he's a saint trying to be a politician. So one time he made a comment, he said, well, I'm just a politician trying to be a saint, and we should take his word for it. This is what one of his critics actually wrote a biography, The Life and Death of Mahatma Gandhi. He was very critical of him, but this is what even his critics. One of his critics said that even when Gandhiji was wrong, he had a way of ending up on the right side. So here is what Mr. Robert Payne says, perhaps never before on so grand a scale has any man succeeded in shaping the course of history while using only the weapon of peace. This example is unprecedented in the history of the world, as we shall see. Never before the gospel of love and peace was taken from the personal level and applied to the social level. Gandhiji's beauty and contribution lies in taking something which people practice as a personal creed and making it come alive in the social arena. The year was 1947, the first Viceroy Mountbatten, he wrote a letter to Gandhiji when India became free and there was a lot of bloodshed. This is the letter, direct word, this is how my book starts. My dear Gandhiji, in Punjab, we have 55,000 soldiers and large-scale rioting is taking place. In Bengal, where Gandhiji was, it consists of only one person, that is you, that is Gandhiji, and there is no rioting. May I be allowed, this is the Mountbatten calling Gandhi, may I be allowed to pay my tribute to the one-man boundary force. That was the force of peace. That was the force of non-violence, ahimsa, that Gandhiji had. When Ved-Vyasa has compiled Mahabharata, which has over 100,000 shlokas, somebody asked him, these days people are very busy, can you give us the executive summary, the cliff note version, the thumbnail version of entire Mahabharata in one shloka? He said, I can do better than that. Ardh shloken pravakshami yaduktam granth koti bhi. I can sum up the entire thousands and thousands of granthas, koti bhi, in half shloka, not even one. And that half shloka was Paropkar Punyaya Papaya Parparinam. There is no punya like Paropkara, and there is no papa like giving pain, inflicting pain to others. So Gandhiji was influenced by, as he was growing up, Gandhiji was influenced by the song, the religious song which was recited, written by the 15th century poet Narsimha Mehta, the Peer Parai Jane Re, Vaishnava Nartho Tene Kahiye. That person, that Vaishnava philosophy of non-hurting, non-harming, was a part of the Vak and Bhuf, every atom of his fiber, and that's what was really his unique. Joseph Campbell, who wrote about heroes and hero worship, he identifies 3 stages to make sure that how leaders are shaped. There are 3 stages. First stage is separation. The leader or the leader to be gets separated from the local land. This is when Gandhiji went to England for 3 years. During that time, his mother died. And this news was not given to Gandhiji because he was too sensitive. He was very attached to his mother. All his moral bearings came from his mother. And his mother was a very religious lady. She used to do a lot of fasting. When it won't rain, she will do fasting to make sure that it rains. The purpose was Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai, the well-being of other people. That was something that Gandhiji got from his mother. So he's separated from his familiar ground. Second stage is initiation. He was invited to go to Africa for 3 months, but he stayed there for 21 years. And during that time, in that crucible, Gandhi was forged. Gandhi was made what Gandhi was going to be. Then he comes to India for 33 years. He shared his message with his brothers and sisters. That is the return. So every leader, great leader, Joseph Campbell says in his book, Hero Worship, that it goes through 3 stages: separation, initiation, and return. We see that in Gandhi's. There is some research which says that if the parents of a person die at a certain age, when the person is growing up, it affects them. And if the person is well focused, if he has a Sarthi like Lord Krishna, then it can be fashioned into a great archer like Arjuna. Not everybody, but you have to have a Sarthi, you have to have proper guidance. The proper guidance was Hindu culture, Sanatana Dharma, the Jain culture. The guidance was there. It was written into his DNA, and that's what helped him. His mother died when he was 22 years old. Then in Africa, there was an incident where Gandhiji was thrown out of the train because even if he had a first-class ticket, but he was not allowed to sit. That was the dark night of soul, as in Western philosophy, many spiritual people call it, and that's where Gandhiji, he was a very humorous person. You will be very surprised to know. He has his own way of, when somebody asked him that should we return an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, he said, if you do that, then you will end up with a toothless and eye-blind society. And when he was asked, what do you think of Western civilization? He said, I think it will be a very nice, good idea to have it. So in one of the, he went to have a tea in Buckingham Palace with the king, and he, always will wear very sparse clothing. So when somebody asked him, Mr. Gandhi, are you not underdressed? He said, no. As a matter of fact, the king had enough clothes for both of us. So he had his own very interesting sense of humor. The General Smuts, he made sandals for him, and the General Smut wear those sandals. And he says that I have worn these. This is coming from a person, those people who have only known the path of violence. And in the context of Gandhiji, the man mellowed down. This is what General Smuts writes. I have worn these sandals for many summers, even though I may feel that I am not worthy. This is a journal saying, I am not worthy to stand in the shoes of the great man. Gandhi was called, lauded by what one may say his enemies. These are the sandals that he made. Historic picture. Somebody asked Gandhiji before, like five months before he died, is there something, a talisman that you can give, which will help us every day? He says, yes. Whenever you want to do something and you are not sure whether it is the right thing to do or not, ask this thing. What is that? Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest person, man or woman, whom you may have seen, and ask yourself if the step you are going to take is going to help that person or not. If you can answer the question in yes, then you will find your doubts and yourself, doubt and yourself melt away. Because the paropukar punyaya, the punya only lies in paropukara. Some research in the Western countries also show that if you want to be happy, you have to give happiness to others. This is the beauty of happiness. And that comes in a bigger way. It helps us greatly. नेकियां करके दरिया में जो कभी डाली थी, उर्दू पोइट्री comes very handy. नेकियां करके दरिया में जो कभी डाली थी, वही उबर आई तूफान में कश्तियां बनकर. So when you do something good, later on it helps you. So I think Gandhiji was helped by the goodness, because karma never loses an address. Good karma and bad karma both work out them. So this is what Gandhiji, his legacy is courage, his lesson is truth, his weapon is love. With life as his monument, Gandhiji now belongs to all humanity. He does not belong to India alone. That's where he was born. But due to his good karma, he is the virasat of entire humanity. It is a very wonderful comment. Of all the modern politicians and statesmen, writes a recent commentator, only Gandhi is an authentically global figure. Authentically global. A person who has worked there, led forces outside the precincts of India. On hearing the news of Gandhi's assassination, E. Stanley Jones, a Christian missionary who was in New Delhi, but due to the traffic he was not able to reach to see the dead body the last time. He says perhaps that Gandhi was the greatest tragedy. His death was the greatest tragedy since the Son of God died on the cross. This is a very big tribute. This man has known Gandhi for 40 years. And this is what he compares him with. Here is another beauty of Gandhi's humility. The power of humility and gentleness is illustrated through this fact that this little brown man in linen clothes, he brought the mightiest empire on the planet. British Empire used to be where the sun will never set. Surya kabhi ast nahi hota tha. That empire, the mightiest empire, he brought them to the knees simply to the force of ahimsa, non-violence. This is the beauty of Gandhiji. I'm going to wrap up my presentation up now. Whenever, this is the soul, this is a tribute, I end my book with this observation, that whenever a soul will peacefully raise her voice against any kind of oppression, anywhere in the world, Gandhi's legacy will continue. When he was asked by a journalist, what is your message? Gandhiji simply said, my life is my message. This is the belongings this man had. This is all he owned. No official title, no office, no bank balance, nothing. This is Tyagain. This is the Tyagain to Kaunte, Lord Krishna says. This is the Tyaga at its very best. This is all Gandhiji's belongings that he had all his life. Be the change. May all living beings be happy and free. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dhiman, for the wonderful presentation. I was really lost into it. Hopefully we had more time, but unfortunately we have many speakers to hear. Our next speaker will enlighten us on the Christianity and the peace. And I'll briefly introduce Father. They say that God works in the mysterious ways, which could be why Father Christian Mandor, a Franciscan friar at the Catholic priest at Saint Simon and Judge Parish in Huntington Beach, did not pick up a surfboard until he was 70 years old. Born in Hollywood, California, during the 1920s, Father Mandor found solace in the ocean and was fond of body surfing during his youth. He joined the Franciscan monastery in 10th grade, and while he continued to serve God through his life living in Surf City, USA, that even got better of him. At age age of 70th birthday, he brought himself a surfboard for $100 and learned surfing at Bosla Sita. Now at 88, Father Mandol continues to enjoy the waves, spirit of benefit and the message of God. It is my privilege and honor to present to you Father Christian Mandol.
Thank you. Did I hear 88?
Yeah.
I'm older now than I ever have been in my whole life. I'm 92. I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to be invited to speak on this anniversary of the birth of Mahatma Gandhi, one of the great figures of history. I feel very much at home here, if only for the color orange. I also represent the Diocese of Orange. I guess that's in memory of the orange trees that grew here in such abundance in the past. That's the Diocese of Orange. Also, I couldn't help but see those wonderful ideals of living on this medallion and the knots in my cord. Franciscan cord represent what we try to live for, the lifestyle and imitation of Jesus Christ, who was never married. We take the vow of celibacy, the vow of obedience to do the will of God, and vow of poverty, not to own anything. And I see those ideas so beautifully expressed in this battalion, so I surely feel right at home. But I'm honored and humbled to represent all of Christianity here, and I'll do my best in the few minutes that we have. But I remember the Franciscan order founded by St. Francis of Assisi, and I was absolutely delighted to hear Dr. Demon refer to Toynbee's reference to the only saint to lead a revolution since Buddha and St. Francis of Assisi was Mahatma Gandhi. And to be placed out of the founder of the Franciscan order in that august company is a great honor indeed, just to hear that. So I also represent the spirit of St. Francis, who perhaps more than any of the Catholic saints, and there are many, I used to know there are, who embody the ideals of Jesus Christ, who came with the sound of angels, glory to God in the highest and on earth, peace to all of goodwill. The angel's voice announcing the birth of Christ, the founder of Christianity, was peace. Francis of Assisi, 1200 years later, was captivated by that ideal of peace in a world that was in constant turmoil, city against city. And he went to battle as a knight against the neighboring Perugia, and his side lost, the city of Assisi lost. And he was in prison for almost 2 years, and almost died. His loving mother nursed him back to health after he was ransomed. And during that period of seclusion, the separation from the world, he began to look at his life and how different he was. Kind of the playboy of the 13th century, a musician, a troubadour, a singer, a wealthy, son of a wealthy merchant, had everything. But it was all seemingly meaningless after his experience with war. And he vowed he would give all of that up and preach the message of peace. And that was the beginning of the Franciscan order. And many, not only men and women followed his example in a religious form of life, but many lay people. And they begged him to write a rule, the rule of the Third Order of St. Francis. He helped co-found the Order of Poor Clares and his own Franciscan order. But he founded a lay order, and one of the requirements that he demanded of all members of the Third Order of St. Francis, following a simple rule, following the Christian Gospels, was never to take up weapons. And at least one historian recording this time in history, in the 13th century, with so many thousands, young and old, rich and poor, kings and queens, joined the Franciscan Third Order. that required that they not take up weapons, that the feudal wars between the cities in the city-state system of Italy at that time came to a screeching halt. When a noble wanted to raise an army for war, he couldn't do it. They all belonged to the Third Order of St. Francis. They couldn't take up weapons. And for the first time, one historian noted, in the history of Christianity, war came to an end, at least in that part of the world in Italy, where Francis had such an impact. And that's the message that I bring to you today, to share with all of you who seek peace, as the Jain philosophy does as well, as all religions seek peace. And this is where we need and come together. One of the one of the favorite prayers of St. Francis, and more as I preach the end of my relatively long life. It's a simple prayer of Francis of Assisi. His greeting to everyone he met was Pace e Bene in Italian. And that resonates with all of you here, because in Hebrew, shalom, in Arabic, salam, in English, peace. That was Francis's greeting, Pace e Bene, peace and all that is good. That is what I wish for all of you. And that was the spirit that motivated Francis in all of his teachings. And one of the great moments in his life, I think very apropos today, was during the Fifth Crusade, led by Pope Honorius III, and sent a cardinal archbishop as head of the Christian army to forcibly take back the city of Jerusalem from the Arabs and the Moors, from the Muslims. And mounted the Fifth Crusade. Francis opposed that vigorously. He gave word to all of his followers, men and women, you do not take up weapons, even in this cause of the crusade to take back Jerusalem for the Christians. He says that is not Christ's way of doing it. And he went against the power of the Catholic Church in the 13th century and forbade his followers to have anything to do with the Fifth Crusade. And not only that, he chose one of his brothers to go with him, because he always went 2 by 2. As the Lord said, and sent out the apostles first 2 by 2. He took a companion, and his name happened to be Illuminatus. What a wonderful name, the Enlightened One. Brother Illuminatus. And Francis went into the camp of Malik el-Kamil, the Sultan of Egypt, who was leading the Muslim forces to defend the city of Damietta in Egypt against the Crusaders. He went right into their camp, almost got himself killed. They said, what are you doing here? You're a Christian. He was in his Franciscan robes, robe of the peasant, that's what this is. And their companion, but they noticed he had no weapons. And when he called the name of the Sultan, oh, you want to see the Sultan? Yes, we'll take you to him. Instead of killing him on the spot, they took him to the Sultan. And the Sultan, Malik el-Kamil, the two of them sat down and talked peace. And the best historians say that the Sultan himself was seeking peace. And I'm ashamed to say that the cardinal leading the Fifth Christian Crusade would not hear of any peace. He wanted to demolish the troops of the Muslims. But Francis and Malik el-Kamil reached an understanding of mutual respect. The Sultan respected Francis because he came with no weapons. And he respected his humility and his simplicity and his willingness to sit down and talk, which was the very thing the Sultan wanted to do to stop the terrible war. What a wonderful paradigm for our own time and all of the disputes and troubles we're facing today. To approach even our enemies in a spirit of openness, seeking peace. And by the way, Francis did not call the Muslims his enemy. He didn't call them his friends. He called them all, starting with the Sultan, his brother. And that was his message. That's the message I share with you. That's the ideal of Christianity, that we are all brothers and sisters seeking peace. Shalom, salam, pace e bene, peace and all that is good.
Give Father a big hand, please. At 92, I wish I can be that healthy. Next speaker is the Hinduism and speech. I'm so grateful that Swamiji agreed at the last moment to come and grace us. The Swamiji Ishwarananda Saraswati. Swami Ishwarananda is the resident senior Acharya of the Chimyanan Mission, Los Angeles, an accomplished master of Vedantic philosophy. Swamiji explains the universality of the spiritual teaching in an extremely simplified manner for the audience to grasp the concept and for seeking to implement the teaching in the day-to-day life. Several companies, universities, Interfaith custodians, and routinely reaches out to Swamiji for the delivering the talk to their employees, students, and congregation. It is my honor to present to you Swami Ishwarananda Saraswati. Please welcome him.
My dear friends, it's very gratifying to be here in the very peaceful celebration of Mahatma Gandhi. It is very difficult to explain peace. A man of peace, a man of unconditional compassion, a man of peace, one who never swerves away from truth. A man of peace is one whose mind, speech, and action is in one line. There is a statement in Sanskrit, Manasi ekam, Vachasi ekam, Karmani ekam, Mahatmana. Manasi means in the mind, Vachas, speech, Karmani, action. That's what you see here. No harm, avoidance of harm, intended in mind, speech, and action. That is ahimsa. The tenets of Hinduism is based upon the three pillars: Satyam, Ahimsa, and Brahmacharya. And we see Mahatma Gandhi very assiduously abided in those three. His whole life, as he had explained, was an experiment with truth. Even for us to stay one day not to speak what is not true is difficult. Very difficult for us to even stay one day without indulgence. It is very difficult for us to stay one day with thinking no harm to anyone. And to spend a whole life in that, he said it's an experiment. He never said it is accomplished. The greatest person is one who never thinks that he's achieved anything. The reason is that A true peace comes to us only when we are humble. The moment we become arrogant, the moment we think that we have done something great, the moment we think that we are better than others, that very moment you fall down. And unfortunately, what we see in today's world, as the introduction went, arrogance, pride, supremacy, intolerance, cunningness, violence, hatred, prevailing in this time of the life here in this country as well as anywhere else. It unsettles every one of us. Even nature is furious. Nature only reflects human mind. Swami Chinmayananda always said, nature is just an echo of all of us. There was a boy who came to a saint and said, the whole world is hating me. Everybody hates me. I don't like it. The saint was quite surprised. You are so young. How do you think that the world is hating you? Yes, it is. I'll show you how. Come with me. So the saint went along with him. He went to the top of a hill and said, now, just listen. And he shouted at the top of his voice, I hate you all. What came as an echo? I love you all. The message, the echo that came back to him was, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. See, all these people are hating you. The whole world is hating. The saint smiled and said, if only you change your words, it will be better. Shout at the top of your voice, I love you all. See what happens. The boy said, no, they will say hate only. No, you try. Said, I love you all. What came as echo? I love you, I love you. The entire idea of philosophy in Vedanta, Hinduism is, if you have found peace in yourself, and if you are an expression of that peace, the world will be at peace. And that is exactly what Gandhiji had demonstrated. In spite of the war that was going on, violence was going on at that time as well. Much worse than what we are experiencing today. War was already on. But what was his standpoint? I will not take a weapon in my hand. And I prove to this world, not just I want to prove to the world, I want to prove that peace wins, not the war. It is non-violence, harmlessness that will be the answer to the humanity. And he, as a messenger of the supreme truth, he demonstrated that. He never owned it. He never said it is mine. It is me who is teaching you all this things. This is a universal truth. It has been proved by masters of all times. Buddha has preached that. Christ has preached that. And all the religions preach that only. And in the name of religion, why do we need to? Why do we need to be hateful to each other? The name of the God, if we preach and practice violence, it is a sacrilege. It is an insult to God. It is a dishonor to the Almighty. And therefore, friends, it is each one of us. We don't need to go too far. In our own home, in our own society, in our own community, in our own circle of friends and people, family members, let us maintain the inner equilibrium of peace and speak the words of peace. Even if the person in question in front of you is a person of violence and hatred and anger and misunderstanding you, does not matter. Truth prevails. Satyam eva jayate. It may not happen immediately, because we all today, what we want is an answer to my question right away. Everything has to happen within, even before I think about it. The present generation never wants to wait for anything. If I think, it should be there. That's why your parents are also so concerned that even before my son asked for it, I should give it to him. One man gave a golden necklace to his wife, and she stopped talking to him for next 6 months. His friend asked, "You gave golden necklace to her and she stopped talking to you?" "Yes." "Why?" "That's an agreement." Now, why do we need to give material things to win people? Why? Why do you think people can be won by material things? Even if you buy a person, that means you are degrading him to some money, making him feel that you are buyable, you can be purchased. We have already purchased a lot of politicians, let them be there. Don't try to buy people by material things. Don't try to convince people and persuade people by giving things to people. Give yourself, give your peace, give your word, give your promise, give your self, your truth, your wisdom, your experience. The parents have to give experience and wisdom and advice and suggestions and values and education to the children, not anything else. So let us begin at home. Let us not go too far away to stop violence in some country. If each one of us, a group of people, can maintain inner peace and tranquility and live harmoniously with each other in spite of the race and the color and the creed and the caste and religion, we will be messengers of peace. And let us start at home. Thank you.
Great message, Swamiji. Thank you. Please give him a big hand. We have the next speaker. We're just going to change around since Dr. Sahota has to leave. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to switch around once in follow chronological order. Dr. Ravinder Sahota. I know more him about medical things than anything about religion. Dr. Sahota is the inventor. He has about 18 patents to his name, and particularly the perfusion balloon angioplasty, known as a Sahota perfusion balloon. Sahota holds 24 patents for the medical intervention, including the red laser light for prevention of the stenosis. Those who have a stent and a bypass, they know what stenosis means. Multiple lobe balloons, fibrin coated stent, hemostat to stop bleeding from the ruptured arteries, and he holds a license to promote a drug coated stent. About 1/3 of us are carrying it. He performed the first coronary angiography in many hospitals around the world, including the United States, Ukraine, India, etc. He is the Vice Chair and the Chairman of the Orange County Emergency Medicine Commission in California and Research Director and Advisor. He is also instrumental and a big donor in establishing the Sikh Jain Chair at the University of Irvine. I don't know much about his religious stuff, so let's see what Dr. Sahota has to say. Dr. Sahota.
Now, with here's permission, can I invite Akila and Gurinder Shah and Dr. Jaswant Modi, the president-elect of this beautiful temple, because in this book there's a pictures of this temple and lot of functions were held over here. Lot of you are in this book. So could you please come and can I present it to you, Ila and Jaswant Modi and Gurinder Shah, for doing a good job. This is one of the early samples, and Ila once said that I'm an encyclopedia. The writer of this book has said that this is not just my biography, but this is world history. Actually, the very word ahimsa is the beginning of the Jain religion. Three main principles. One of them, the first one is ahimsa, and I don't think any religion where the main principle is ahimsa except the Jain religion. And Jains are the sixth largest religion in the world, and from the Jain religion, then there is a Shrimand Raj Chandra and Veer Chand Gandhi, who were teachers of Mahatma Gandhi. So they influenced Mahatma Gandhi about the influence. Now, about the sixth. Sixth is the fifth largest religion, for those who don't know, and was established, is a more recent religion, younger religion than the many other religions. It was started in 1469. And to give you a little bit summary of that, in 1469, you can say that Christianity has one Jesus Christ, the six have 10 Jesus Christ, 10 gurus. The first one, Guru Nanak, who was born in 1469, and then the second and third. And so, regarding ahimsa, because of to defend others, the Sikh gurus, the fifth Sikh guru laid down his life, and without any violence, anything, because of other religions. They were defending mainly the Hindu religion in India at that time. And then the ninth Sikh guru was beheaded by the then Mughal king of India because he refused to become Muslim. Because the Kashmiri Brahmins came to him and said that the Aurangzeb, that was the Mughal king at that time in India, the emperor, that said that he is converting us into Islam by force. What to do? So the ninth Sikh guru, named Guru Tegh Bahadur, so he said, go and tell Aurangzeb that if you can convert Guru Tegh Bahadur to Islam, we will all become Muslims. And obviously Aurangzeb said nothing to it. So he said, bring him over here. He said, either you become Muslim or beheaded. He said, I accept being beheaded and rather than become Muslim. So he was beheaded in Delhi, and there's a very famous Sikh temple today in Delhi, Chandni Chowk, not too far from the Red Fort, where he was beheaded. So he, at that time, was declared that he saved the whole of Hindu religion. So even up to today, if you go to Kashmiri Brahmins' Kashmiri home, there is a picture of Guru Tegh Bahadur there. So then came his son, who picked up the sword to defend again the Hindu religion and sacrificed his life, his children's life. Two of them were buried made to stand side by side, and a war was built. They were only 8-9 years old because even they refused to become Muslims. So it's the fifth largest religion. Main principles are the one God, all equal, especially the woman equal to man. This is how the first Guru Nanak Dev Ji described the role of woman in Sikh religion. He said, the woman who gives birth to the kings and queens and president, how can that woman be inferior to man? A simple philosophy. And there are 5 principles among the Sikhs, and that's why there's a confusion these days, especially in these countries, that 5 things describe the Sikhs, tenets of Sikhs. I will first say in Punjabi and then translate into English. Kach kada karpan ke skanga. So every Sikh is supposed to have long hair and a comb in that so that it's kept tidy. Turban is just to make sure that it doesn't get dirty. And a small little sword and a bangle and special kind of underwear. So these are the 5 principles of the Sikhs, and the Sikhs mainly started in Punjab. The area of Punjab where the Sikh and Sikh gurus were there is now in Pakistan. After the division in 1947, 60% of Punjab went to Pakistan and 40% stayed in India. There were further divisions. There is a connection between the Sikhs and the Jains. Now, many Jains have told me that when the Jain sadhus were used to travel, and during night, for staying at night, they used to look for a Sikh's house. And so there's a connection over there, which brings the connection up to today's date, that Sikhs and Jains are now establishing the teaching programs and the chairs, as was mentioned earlier on, in several universities in this country, especially in this area. 2 in Claremont, 1 in LMU and San Diego, and now the chairs in UCI. So there are quite a few parallels amongst the Jains and the Sikhs. So that's why my other name is Harvinder Singh Jain. There's a connection of the Sikhs with this beautiful building of the temple also, because I believe the guy who helped you guys with these electricity was Harry Gill. He's an electrician for this building, and also the consultation were done with the structural engineer G. Singh Randhawa, both of the Sikh religion. And so I think that should be enough, and Jai.
Thank you, Dr. Sahota. Thank you for history and some enlightenment. Our next next topic is going to be the Buddhism and peace. The master Hang Chang has been a Buddhist monk for 35 years. He specialized on the teaching of Avatasmatka Sutra, a form of Mayan Buddhism. He founded Compassionate Service Society in the year 2000 to promote the integration of ancient Buddhist teaching into the modern life, creating a holistic system that brings about the inner peace, mutual understanding, and mutual respect, and spiritual unfoldment. He is also a great host. He invited us for the lunch last year after the Gandhi Jayanti. After a month or so we went, and I can't believe how graceful hosts they can be. So if you get invited, don't miss it. Master.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are you tired?
No.
Oh, wow. Are you hungry? No. Exactly a year. Exactly a year that I have come to the center. Last year, I was invited and I spoke here. Same topic, same kind of brochure, different name. But among all the guest speakers, I met Imam Fazlullah from Armenia community. we became a friend. And I invited him to our religious unity. We had a team meditation last year. And he brought about 100 his community, the Muslim community. He was there. And then we decided that this year we had a religious unity prayer. So we invited Father Alex Smith from Los Angeles, and then Dr. Flip Clayton, we also met here, and of course Imam Fazarullah. But let me give you a report on what's happening, because I'm not much of a philosopher or talker, and actually, like Imam, we build communities. And so after we met, I met Imam, we decided that we want to do some things very meaningful. So he brought his community to our community, and we bring our community to visit his community. At the Unity Prayer, he brought about 260 members to participate on our Buddhist. And he also leading with the prayer, so all of the Buddhists will learn how to respect and to be part of the Muslim prayer. We asked many hard questions. Our community intermingle with their community. He also came to our lunch. He ate big lunch. He asked me tons of questions about the Buddha, about the rules, about the monks, about the nuns, about everything. But we had very good interaction, and we really respect each other. And he never tried to turn me into a Muslim. I tried to make him become a monk. Well, however, we somehow, at some point, we could not believe this happened. I met him in his office. He said, well, you know, our Khalifa, His Holiness, is in London now, and he will hold a 40,000 kind of people gathering. It's annual. It's called Jalsa. So if you would like to go and see His Holiness, then we will pay you room and board so you can go and see him. I said, no problem. Where is he? He's in London. Well, London, you know, London. Big Ben, Westminster Abbey, beautiful places for sure. Yeah, we want to have a side trip. And so I signed up, but it turned out that we have 21 Buddhists to go there, and they pay for the whole trip. The community, the Muslim community, pay for all the Buddhists. So we are among the 40,000 people who are attending the annual meeting. And I had a chance to talk to His Holiness, who is the top man, who is at the top of 25 million Muslims around the world.
Wow.
At that very time, then I realized the word Mahatma Gandhi. We're not promoting non-violence, but we're promoting friendship. We do something that we are not expecting. I mean, Imam Zafarullah, something that we did not expect. That is, we promote peace by being ourselves. Not promoting Islam, not promoting Buddhism, not trying to talk about anything else except being so real. I respect his family. He invited us to his family, so we know intimately his family, wife, his daughter. He also came to our house and know that we don't eat chicken. But he realized that we are real people. The community. It doesn't do anything much until the community takes action. We can talk all days. We can say every good thing. But if there is nothing changing our community, and nothing much happening, changing. And therefore, we're looking for opportunity to understand the Muslim community. I want to give you a little bit of background. I'm a Vietnamese. My teacher is a Chinese, and I follow the Chan. However, Vietnamese people in Vietnam, even in America, most of us Buddhists, we have very big misconception about Islam. Vietnamese are very much afraid of Islam. We don't know what is Islam. We are afraid of it. But by talking to the Muslim leader here, Imam here, and we got onto the news, onto the TV. I talked to over 1 million people in Vietnamese, telling them the beauty of the Muslim community. Imam. Now, many Vietnamese know about Ahmadi community. We realize that we can't do a big thing. We cannot, we are Buddhists, we're very small. Compassionate to this society, small, tiny, like little tiny dust. We are very tiny. This community, Muslim community, big heart, like the ocean, they have contained us, Buddhists here. And we feel so honored to the point. Anytime that we interact, the words of Mahatma Gandhi come back to us. My life is mission. And this community, this Muslim community, have done wonderful things because they promote peace. His Holiness told me that they want to promote humanity. But the most important thing is not about promoting. They are themselves very peaceful. We cannot promote any peace if we're not peaceful. And they are very peaceful. And we learn a lot from those beings. I'd like to thank Dr. Mehta and Ila. Because of you that I have met the Imam and the community. Because of you, and we have opened up ourselves. We realize that we are so tiny, we're so insignificant. We hope you have a great day.
The next piece of business is basically peace seminar recognition by Ali Sajad Taj, the mayor of city of Artesia. Mayor.
Jai Jajendra, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Shalom, Salam, peace and greetings to all of you. It really is a pleasure and honor to be here among all of you, especially such religious scholars who have said some really great words. Wherever I go, I take something, at least one or two things away from each event. And today I'm very honored to be among all of you. I've taken a lot, and I wish I could stay longer too. But today we do not only celebrate and commemorate Mahatma Gandhi's birth anniversary, but we really remember the non-violence narrative that he had and still continues to be in our lives and our blood. And that is what is remembered, celebrated, not just here but throughout the world. Today I learned, if you want to be happy, give happiness to others. Gandhi belongs to entire humanity, not to one sect or one region or any place. I was very honored to learn peace wins not war, but at the end of the day, we are all here because of one reason, and all the rivers flow into one ocean, and that is peace that we are here to celebrate and commemorate. With that, I want to thank you, Mr. President, Ila Mehta, board members, religious scholars, friends. You could have been somewhere else, but you're here today to commemorate this narrative. So thank you all so very much. And God bless you all. Thank you.
We have a request from the press that they want to take a picture of the people who had the night ceremony. So we are 10 minutes late, so if you don't mind, will you be on a stage quickly? So he wants to publish your pictures. All speakers, Swamiji. Okay, all right. Okay, well, I think there is another alternative. When we come back from the break, I think we will look. Yeah, everybody go on that. Okay. All right. Before we break, and I apologize, we're about 10 minutes short, but I want to tell you one very small little joke so that everybody is so serious right now. The very important, very religious person passed away, and at the gate, God's waiting for him, and he really get very emotional. All my life, I'm telling God, 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 and finally I see him. He's so emotional, the God holds his hand and take him to the heaven and shows him a beautiful cottage in the, at the end of the galaxy. But he was so sick and everything. As soon as he goes to the cottage, he falls to sleep, wake up after 2 days and suddenly realize, oh my God, I forgot about God. So he runs to the God and God said, don't worry. But he said, if you are hungry, go out and look into the kitchen. So he goes in to open the fridge and there's nothing but vegetarian sandwich. Anyway, he said, I'll ask the God. He was expecting big fish, right? So he asked, I'll ask God later. He goes to the God. He said, I always preach about hell. So can you show me what the hell is? He said, well, no problem. Just go and look at the telescope and you will see it. He keeps on focusing. Everybody having dudpa puri, steak and lobsters and all that stuff. So he comes back to the God and says, Sir, how come people in the hell have such a beautiful food and we have a sandwich? He said, my dear son, it does not pay to cook for 2 people. Please be back in the time. We are a little bit short of time, so hopefully we'll be back. And please, all leaders, can you come on?
Keep this program on time, so all the speakers I request, no offense, but please try to keep your speeches within time limits, number 1, and 2, I will be very, very brief in my introduction of the speakers, so please don't feel offended. Thank you very much. I appreciate your cooperation and support. Dr. Tara Sinchi.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. I'm very delighted to be part of it, even though brief for a brief period of time. I understand that one of the previous speakers has already spoken about Gandhi, so having missed his speech, I may say something that he might have already said, so please forgive me for that. As I was just asked by Jayesh Bhai that if I could speak for 5 minutes, and I will try to keep my comments to that time limit. But as I was reflecting on today's program, I was wondering that Gandhi was very advanced for his own age. And his prayer meetings really were the precursors of what we today call the interfaith, sessions or meetings or whatever you want to call them. Every evening in Gandhi's ashram were prayers sung representing different religions, which was very, very, sort of played a very important role in bringing the country together, bringing the people together. He tried, of course, in the end, we did have the partition, but he tried to avoid that, and he had these prayer meetings. So that itself tells us that how much he was thinking about bringing people together. And I think that is one big purpose of meetings like this, is to bring people together from all religions, something that we need very much in our times today. Another thing that I would like to mention, that Gandhi had this unique ability to learn from people and make what he learned, what he internalized as his own in a very original way. And he drew a lot from, for example, Srimad Raichandra, Tolstoy and Ruskin, the three people that he mentions in his autobiography who influenced him in very crucial ways. So he had that ability. And he showed that whatever Gandhi said was not simply a verbal exercise for him. When he said, "Be the change," he actually embodied that, and through his messages were given by his own experiments, by the way he was living his own life. And I think that is very important, the sense of integrity between his thought and his actions. That was very, very important, something that we all need to feel inspired about, because it is easy for us to say all kinds of nice things, but it is very difficult to embody those things. And Gandhi's message was his life. His life was his message. And I think that is a very important thing for us to keep in mind. And I can of course go on and on about Gandhi, having written 2 books. But I will stop here and simply announce the conference that we are doing, which is very relevant to announce on Gandhi Jayanti. After all, Gandhi was the father of Indian nation, and we are doing, Ahimsa Center is hosting a conference in November on India at 70, building a more inclusive democracy. So it celebrates 70 years of India's independence as the world's largest democracy. And we have speakers coming to the conference from 5 different countries, including United States, Canada, UK, India, and Israel. So I take this moment to invite you all, and among the many speakers, somebody who's very relevant for today's talk will be Rajmohan Gandhi, grandson of the Mahatma. He will also be joining us for the conference along with his wife. So please join us for the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taraji. Even with your busy schedule, you took time to address us, so we are very thankful to you, and thanks for inviting everybody to this upcoming conference. Next speaker, the conference at Calpoli, Pomona is on, date is November
3, 4, and 5.
November 3rd, 4th and 5th, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, the first weekend of November.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Where is it?
It is at Calpoli, Pomona. Calpoli, Pomona. Next speaker is Mr. Hasendra Shah. I know him for more than 42 years. We were together in Ahmedabad studying. He has been very, by profession he is a pharmacist. He runs his own pharmacy. But as far as religious is concerned, very learned, very well read in Jainism and other religions too. He has been conducting swadhyayas at this Jain center every Tuesday evening, and also he has served as president of this Jain center in past and still active in many, many committees. So we are very fortunate to have him here. He will be talking on Jain perspective of peace. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Hasendra Shah. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Jai Jinendra. I know your time is very little. I have approximately 10 minutes to say about peace in Jainism. What I would like to do is give you a brief synopsis of 3 things. One, I would like to talk about principle of Jainism. Jainism is synonymous with peace. Peace is Jainism, Jainism is peace. And then I would like to read a few passages of Gandhi's own words, and how an ordinary man born in Porbandar rose to such height that he was known as Mahatma. In his own words. And then I will read that in Gujarati from his autobiography, and then I'll try to give you the English translation as well. So just bear with me. I'll try to be as quick as possible with all three components. So when we talk about Jainism, sometimes, when I was reading more about his autobiography, I found Gandhiji to be more Jain. And then I realized, and he himself says, if anybody reads my autobiography, or my life, each faith would identify him as, follower of that faith. Be it Christianity or Islam or Hinduism or Jainism or Buddhism. When you talk about Gandhiji, each faith would think that, he was really a practitioner of my faith. Such was his commitment to the truth and non-violence that everybody can identify with him, no matter what faith you belong to. So we will touch upon that. I'll just briefly, very quickly go about Jainism, what we think about. Most Jains, Jain's ultimate goal is to achieve moksha, which we call, blissful existence or nirvana. And the nature of that, somebody being siddha or achieving that final state, the blissful state, what it is that it is unhindered by anything in this universe. But not only that, when somebody achieves that state, they don't hinder any life processes or living processes. That means they are totally in synchronization, so what we call non-violence. So that whole process, journey from ordinary living being to the liberated soul, is an incremental self-purification process. And that self-purification process is deepest process. That is incremental as one advances from one stage to another. Peace keeps on rising. So that is the goal of Jains. And the Jains have identified three aspects to achieve such purification process. Those are what we call as the three jewels: right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. And this right conduct is only possible in presence of right belief and right knowledge. So we fondly call that Ratnatrayi. And having done that, right conduct can only result when somebody has right understanding and right belief. We also think that to achieve such peace process, one needs to observe 5 major vows. I'll just name those. Ahimsa, that's non-violence. Satya, truthfulness. Asteya, non-stealing. Brahmacharya, celibacy. Aparigraha, non-possessiveness. Those are the 5 major vows that any Jain who wants to pursue the path of peace, path of self-purification process, they would need to observe these 5 vows. Most Jain monks, they try to practice these 5 major vows to the highest degree. And when I'm mentioning this because when we read Gandhiji's own word, we would like to kind of contemplate how much he achieved as a man in these 5 vows that we talk about. When Jainism talks about these 5 vows, it's actually one, non-violence. The other 4, as we say, Satya or truth, Asteya means Achaurya, Brahmacharya, celibacy, and Aparigraha. Those are the complementary vows that helps one to achieve real non-violence. So when we say if somebody is not being truthful, that person is committing violence. It's a violence of soul. And when we take away that belongs to somebody or we claim it to be our own, which is chori, that is also a form of violence. brahmacharya, that means observing celibacy, which is very ordinary way of saying it. But when you don't infringe on others' right, that is true brahmacharya. And then aparigraha, the endless desires and greed that leads to violence. So unless these four aspects are observed carefully, one cannot become totally non-violent. And that's how exemplary Gandhiji did. He observed this in a manner that he can achieve that non-violence. We will try to find his own words. But before I go there, I would like to identify a few other things, how Jains think about this non-violence, this peace process. Non-violence is not mere absence of violent act. That recognition that all living being in this universe has a soul, and soul of all living being has all the same qualities like me and you. And that becomes the basis of true friendship, true love, true care, any living beings. And when we talk about non-violence in Jainism, it's not being non-violent towards only human beings, but it extends to the animal kingdom, plant kingdom. Even it goes to the living beings of water, earth, fire. In other words, when Jains, whether they practice or not, but they have respect for all these living beings and the soul that each, even the simplest living thing has, it has a potential same as ours. Of course, humans have the highest potential, or they have come to a stage where they can practice the non-violence to the best possible degree. Then Jainism further says that not committing violent act is one thing, but not helping others to commit violence, or not applauding when somebody commits violence. What we call is trivid, karyu, karabyu, anumodyu. If anyway, if we don't commit violence, but if we encourage somebody to do violent acts, it has the same result. It is violence. If we applaud somebody committing wrong things, that's violence. Then it's the same thing as one of the speakers said about body, mind, and speech. So non-violence, it's not only physical harm. When we hurt somebody's feeling by saying wrong words, that is violent. When we even think, if I think bad thoughts about you, but I haven't, however, committed any bad acts to you, you may not even know that I have caused you any harm. However, by having such thought, I'm committing violence. That is Jain non-violence. You can't, even I can't think bad about anybody, even though whether I physically harm them or not. So that is body, mind, and speech. That is Jain non-violence. To sum it up very briefly, if we try to do anything wrong, if we try to harm anyone, we harm our own soul first. That is the biggest takeaway of Jain non-violence. As if you ill-conceived, ill-thought, or wrong thoughts about anybody, you are hurting your soul first. So your main commitment has to be your soul. Anytime you think wrong about anybody, you are committing violence to your own self. Now, I will try to just say a few passages I'll try to read from Gandhiji's autobiography. It's not the autobiography. One is from his introduction or prelogue, and the other one is when he concludes his autobiography. It was very interesting to see when Gandhiji committed to start writing his own autobiography, he deliberated that decision very much. Should I write it? What would be? And then there was a comment from fellow friend that you should not write autobiography. It's expression of pride or ego. And then he goes on to say that I don't have any such ego or pride. Then why am I writing this book? So I'll read it in Gujarati, and after that I'll translate it in English as well. મારા ભૂતકાળના જીવન ઉપર દ્રષ્ટિ નાખતો જાઉં છું તેમ તેમ મારું અલ્પપણું હું શુદ્ધ રીતે જોઈ શકું છું. મારે જે કરવું છે, જેનું હું 30 વર્ષથી ચંદ્રના કરી રહ્યો છું, એ છે આત્મદર્શન, અને એ છે ઈશ્વરનો સાક્ષાત્કાર, અને એ છે મોક્ષ. મારું ચલન વલણ અને જે કંઈ લખું છું એ બધું આ દ્રષ્ટિએ જ થાય છે. So he says why he is writing his autobiography, that his goal in life is his self-reflection. And a Atma-darshan, that is only the darshan of God. That's what he says. And now, when he finishes his autobiography at certain point in 1921 or so, when he reaches to the point, he says that I should stop now writing any further on my autobiography. And he says, why? He says, now my life, every minute, every second is a public life. I don't have any private moment. I don't have any private thought processes that I need to lay it out in front of the people. Everything is public, so I must stop writing there. So that's how he stops writing. But in that conclusion, so far whatever he has written in his autobiography, what that has achieved, or what he intended to do, and what he achieved, that he makes a remark. And I'll read it in Gujarati, pardon who those don't know Gujarati, I'll make an English translation as well. સત્યથી ભિન્ન કોઈ પરમેશ્વર હોય એવું મેં અનુભવ્યું નથી. Truth is God. સત્યમય થવાને સારું અહિંસા એ એક જ માર્ગ છે. If you really want to be truthful, non-violence is the only way. આ પ્રકરણને પાને પાને જો તમને એવું ના દેખાયું હોય તો મારો પ્રયત્ન વ્યર્થ સમજું છું. Throughout his autobiography he says, you should have seen that I am being truthful, and that truthfulness is non-violence. મારી અહિંસા અહીં થોડી કાચી છે, અપૂર્ણ છે. Even though he is practicing violence to this non-violence to this degree, he says, my non-violence is not perfect yet. It's not complete yet. Then he gives an example. હજારો સૂરજને એકઠા કરીએ અને એમાંથી એક સૂરજના એક કિરણનું જેટલું લાઈટ હોય એટલું પણ મારા સત્યનું માપ નથી. સૂરજના એક કિરણ માત્ર દર્શન રૂપ જ, એનું સંપૂર્ણ દર્શન પણ, સૂર્યના એક કિરણનું સંપૂર્ણ દર્શન પણ સંપૂર્ણ અહિંસા વિના અશક્ય છે. To realize yourself, you need that complete dedication. આવા વ્યાપક સત્યનારાયણ પ્રત્યેક દર્શનને મારા જીવ માત્ર પ્રત્યે આત્મવત પ્રેમની પરમ આવશ્યકતા છે. He says where he wanted to reach and he may not have reached. Each and every living being, I have to identify that as myself, my soul. Their soul and my soul are the same. So what he says is, જીવ માત્ર પ્રત્યે આત્મવત પ્રેમની પરમ આવશ્યકતા છે. આ કરવાની ઈચ્છનાર મનુષ્ય જીવનની બહાર એક પણ, એટલે કે જીવિત વસ્તુઓ છે, સજીવ છે, એની બહાર ક્યાંય જોઈ શકે નહીં, એને બધાને જ પોતાના ઇક્વિવેલન્ટ ગણવા જોઈએ. Now he is saying in his final thoughts, આત્મશુદ્ધિ વિના જીવ માત્રની સાથે એકત્વ થાય જ નહીં. આત્મશુદ્ધિ વિના અહિંસા ધર્મનું સર્વથા પાલન શક્ય નથી, અસંભવિત છે. અશુદ્ધ આત્મા પરમાત્માના દર્શન કરવાને અસમર્થ છે, અને એટલે જીવન માર્ગમાં બધા જ ક્ષેત્રોમાં શુદ્ધિની આવશ્યકતા છે. So this is the self-purification process that he wanted to achieve, and he said that my effort throughout my life has been, and maybe I achieved the smallest part of that truth, that non-violence, but that was my pursuit and that was my goal. So now I'll just, from his English translation version, I'll mention that first introduction. What I want to achieve, what I have been striving and pinning to achieve. This 30 years is self-realization, to see the God face to face and attain moksha. I live and move and have my being in pursuit of this goal. So this was before the introduction of his autobiography. And then in conclusion, he says, I set high value on my experiments. Remember, he tells his Atmakatha or autobiography, experiments with truth. So he says, I set high value on my experiments. I do not know whether I have been able to do justice to them. I can only say that I have spared no pains to give little faithful narrative to describe the truth as it appears to me and in the exact manner in which I have arrived at it. It has been my ceaseless effort. The exercise has given me ineffable mental peace. See, how he achieved his peace was his truthfulness, his non-violence. So true peace for any of us to experience, we have to be truthful and non-violent. And now I will just read the last paragraph and conclude my life. I can say with assurance, as a result of all my experiments, that a perfect vision of truth can only follow a complete realization of ahimsa. To see the universal and all-pervading spirit of truth face to face, one must be able to love the minutes of creation as oneself. So I hope I was able to convey how this man achieved the great heights in his self-purification process, his truthfulness, and his non-violence. I was glad to see that last year when we celebrated this event, the Buddhist and Ahmadiyya community can come together, and Jains who believe in Anekantvad, we were the instrument when this happened. And I was glad to listen to Dr. Sahota that Jain and Sikh, they are joining to make this chair in universities. So this Jain center is representing the true spirit, which is Anekantvad. Any faith and every faith, there is common ground that we all can come together. Thank you, JCSC.
Thank you, Asendra Bhai. Wonderful perspective on Jainism and peace. Our next speaker will be talking on Judaism and peace, Dr. Rabbi Frank Stern. He is the leader of the oldest synagogue in Orange County, and he taught for 10 years at Cal State Fullerton. And still he is teaching at Orange Coast College. He is also past president of the Pacific Association of Reformed Rabbis of 7 Western states. And he also is a founder and past president of the Orange County Interfaith Network. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Rabbi Frank Stern. Thank you.
Hello, Malaysia. Thank you. Peace be unto you. You say peace unto you as well. This is not the first time I've been invited to speak at the Jain Center. Some 2 years ago, the Orange County Interfaith Network Youth Forum was hosted here at the Jain Center. Over 200 teenagers from 21 different religious communities came and gathered here to share together from their faith, their understandings, and to solve common community issues. It was a wonderful conference. We have one every year. The next one is coming this coming March. We're looking forward to your participation in that as well. It may well have been when young Mohandas was living in South Africa and working in South Africa that he came across many of the Jews who lived in the same community. Some we know became his supporters and his followers. He may have even attended synagogue to visit on occasion. But it seems clear to me that even if their courses were merely parallel, There's a great deal in Jewish tradition and the teachings of Mahatma, the Great Spirit, that we ought to acknowledge. In Jewish tradition, the ideal Jew exhibited three important characteristics. Davu emet. The ideal Jew spoke truth. Faced the truth, acknowledged the truth, and clearly spoke honestly and freely. Without falsehood, without pretense, without obsequiousness. The second characteristic was ohevet amo. The ideal Jew loved his fellow man. Not just other Jews, but loved all people, all God's creatures. Christian, Jain, Sikh, Muslim, Zoroastrian, and so on. And third, the ideal Jew was a Rodef Shalom, a person who pursued Shalom, who pursued peace as his most significant community responsibility. Speak the truth, love all human beings, pursue peace. Gandhi could have said the same thing. Those two parallel paths seem very, very congruous to me. When Gandhi returned to India and continued his public service, he inspired the world. People in the Middle East, people in the Far East, people across the Pacific Ocean and the Americas. He became an icon, an ideal to which all of us could give assent and commitment. And as a young man studying for the rabbinate, I remember thinking to myself, if we're modern prophets today, Gandhi would be one of them. For Jews as well as anybody else. Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, there were a few significant figures of the modern world from whom we all ought to learn important and significant lessons. Gandhi was one of those for me. So I saw a confluence, a co-joining of the teachings of my traditional faith and the teachings of my modern teachers, and I found Gandhi to be one of those inspiring leaders for me. There were two areas in which Gandhi and Jewish tradition disagreed. And I wanted to share that with you today with the understanding that perhaps this might engender some kind of dialogue and discussion about our perceptions in those regards. It's fascinating to me that even though Gandhi was a teacher of mine, I didn't always agree. Well, that was true for all of my teachers, I must tell you. But the two areas in which Jews in general disagreed with Gandhi was one with respect to his universal application of nonviolence. Gandhiji said that under no circumstances, at least as I understand him, said that under no circumstances should you don a weapon and hurt your fellow man. Judaism had a slightly different understanding. Even though pursuing shalom was the highest ideal of Jewish tradition, Judaism was born out of violence. If you recall with me the story of the Israelite slavery in Egypt, we regained our freedom by finally opposing the Egyptian forces. If we had not resisted, we would still be slaves. So that's a kind of incident that colored our understandings. And yet even that was modified, ameliorated, if you will. There's a wonderful Jewish legend, a rabbinic legend, that says the Jews crossed the dry land and onto the other side of the river, the Red Sea. And as the Egyptian forces pursued after them to recapture them and bring them back to slavery, the waters flowed back on top of them. And the Jews were on the other bank rejoicing. The angels in heaven were rejoicing. And then they looked and they saw God seated on his throne crying. And the angels quieted and walked over and couldn't understand what was going on. And they said, well, you've been vindicated. All the things you predicted have come to pass. You've saved your people. The Egyptians are aware now that you are the ruler of the universe and their gods are nothing. And God said, yes, that's all true. But you see, the Egyptians are my people too. And he was crying because they had to suffer the consequences. A wonderful legend. In the modern world, Jews have suffered a Holocaust. Gandhi said the Jews should not have resisted. Better that they risk their lives than take up weapons against their enemies. The Jews don't agree. 6 million Jews were mercilessly and brutally killed. It would have been more if we had not risen up against the Axis powers. So it's important to us to explore that kind of thing, it seems to me, to talk about when and if it is ever permissible to defend yourself, your life, the life of your wife or your family, against brutal attack. Or should you, in fact, sacrifice your family? I don't believe you should. Most Jews today don't believe you should. The Nazis had to be resisted. The Holocaust had to be opposed. It was inhuman. It was immoral. And the second area in which the Jews of today and Mohammed Gandhi disagreed was with respect to the Jewish state, the Zionist cause. The principle that Israel was the ancestral homeland of the Jews that was wrested away from them by foreign powers and to which they were still entitled, especially after the Holocaust, especially after there was no place that was willing to rescue them, especially when they were oppressed and persecuted around the Western world. Gandhi took the position that that was not a proper action. Not that they didn't deserve a place to live, but the way to get the promised land was not to be violent. And if it meant Jews were killed in the process, then that was all part of the process. Modern Judaism does not agree with that. We're delighted to have a state we can call our own, our historic homeland. We hope to work out relationships with the peoples who are the neighbors of the Jews in the Middle East. That kind of peace we are pursuing with due diligence. But at this point, we're not willing to give up the land or disclaim our right to it. So those are areas in which Judaism today and the followers of Gandhi, the pursuers of his thought, his ideas, and his message ought to be able to dialogue and discuss. I close with the following understanding, which I share with you, and that is what the word shalom means in Hebrew tradition. We often think of shalom as peace in the sense of no violence, no war, no conflict or confrontation. Shalom is bigger than that. Shalom is more than that. Shalom means wholeness. Shalom means integrity. Shalom means health. A confluence of body and mind working together. So when we say Shalom Aleichem, Shalom to you, that's what we mean. May you be a healthy person. May you have an integrated life. May you be part of an integrated community. And so I wish you all again, Shalom Aleichem.
Thank you, Dr. Stern, and thank you for sharing your agreements and disagreements with Gandhiji. Decision is yours. You have to decide what you want to accept. Thank you again. Next would be our speaker who will be speaking on Islamic perspective on peace, and I would like to invite Dr. Muzammil H. Siddiqui, who is the head of Islamic Centers of Southern California, and he is also teaching Islamic Studies at Chapman University. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Siddiqui.
So, Assalamu alaikum now from the Muslim side. You heard from Jewish side? Just a slight difference. Shalom alaikum and salam alaikum. Just as only. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be to all of you. And the answer is the same. Wa alaikum assalam. So I want to thank especially my good friend Manik Bhojwala, who introduced me to this gathering and sent me the first invitation. Appreciate that very much. Very happy to see Father Mando, good friend for a long time, and also Rabbi Frank. We work together at the Interfaith programs. Thank you very much for holding such a wonderful program on the celebration of the birth of Gandhiji, a great leader. I'm from India, born in India, raised in India, from northern part of India. So I appreciate very much. And I know Gandhiji grew up in South Africa with the Muslim community. And he always appreciated the reading of the Quran. And he used to have reading every day of Gita, Bible. He also has the reading of the Quran. He emphasized very much that Muslims and Hindus in India live together in peace and harmony. And it's very much needed that both communities live there and also everywhere. Now, you know, Islam and Christianity are the two major religions of the world. There are as many Muslims as there are as many Christians. And the variety of Muslims, just as there are varieties of Christians. Of both in terms of nationalities, in terms of races, in terms of ethnicities, in terms of religious views, in terms of their practices. There's many of them. It's very difficult to speak about all of them or for all of them. So I'm not going to speak about all of them. I'm going to say a few things about the Islamic principles, Islamic values. Islam again comes from the very same word salam. And Rabbi Frank explained very well the concept of shalom. Salam and shalom are both Arabic and Hebrew, are Semitic languages, so we share a lot. Our meaning of the words. Salam also has the meaning of peace, wholesomeness, completeness, safety, security, soundness. Salam is one of the names of God. God is the most perfect one. The Bible also talks about God. God is Salam. Quran says, As-Salam al-Mu'min al-Muhaymin. One of the names of God is Salam. And Islam comes from Salam. That means coming into peace, coming into surrender to God. So it has three aspects. One is in every person, in his or her own self, and a number of speakers were talking about that, have peace within themselves. Peace begins from yourself. So you should be in peace. Peace within yourself, peace with God. And peace with God means that live your life in obedience to God. So there is emphasis in Islam of prayers 5 times a day. There is emphasis on charity, emphasis on fasting, self-control, self-discipline, patience, and emphasis on pilgrimage, recognizing the holy places, recognizing the history of the holy places, all of these things. So these are all basic things that every individual has to do. The second principle that comes peace is peace within the family. Islam is a family religion. Emphasis, with great emphasis on family life, respect of spouses, respect of the parents, kindness and love of the children, extended families. That is very much emphasized in Islam. And not only that, Islam also emphasizes good neighborly relations, regardless whether your neighbors are Muslims or not Muslims, all of them. And I grew up in India. My father was called by our Hindu neighbors uncle. Appuji, father, they used to call him. And we do the same thing. Our Hindu neighbors would call him chacha, brother, bhai. These are the kind of words that we use. This is the teaching that we are taught. That be good neighbors to all people. Share food. Enjoy each other's celebration. Be together. And so the good neighborly relationship. And the neighbors are, the whole world is a neighbor today. We are living in the global village. So we have to extend that concept of neighborliness. The Quran says, اعبدوا الله ولا تشركوا به شيئا وبالوالدين إحسانا وبجار ذي القربى وجار الجنب والصاحب بالجنب وابن السبيل. Worship God and be good to your parents. And then your neighbors. Neighbors who are whom you know and the neighbors whom you do not know. Neighbors who are near you and neighbors who are distant from you. All of them. Be good to your neighbors. The whole world has to be taken as neighbors. The third important point that very much emphasized in Islam, which unfortunately some Muslims do not practice, and there are some difficulties, the next thing is how to deal with conflict. How to deal with the issues of problems that exist. Human beings are human beings. They have problems. People fight. So how to resolve the conflict. Islam emphasizes very much that resolution of the conflict should be done through peaceful manners, as much as possible. Yes, there is jihad in Islam, but jihad is not offensive war. Jihad is not to fight people in order to convert them. Islam does not allow conversion by force at all. Absolutely forbidden in Islam. La ikraha fi din, the Quran says that. There is no compulsion allowed in the matters of religion. So what is emphasized very much? That you convey your message peacefully to the people, and it's up to the people to accept or not to accept. But some people, unfortunately, they did that, and that was wrong. Whether they are kings, rulers, anybody, wrong is wrong. So there are some people who, unfortunately, in their enthusiasm, in their mistaken enthusiasm, they have done things which are contrary to the teachings of the faith. Islam very much emphasizes that the conflict should be resolved in peaceful manners. Jihad does not mean war at all. Jihad means struggle, efforts. One of the jihad is the jihad of the self. Our Prophet said, the best mujahid, the best person to make jihad is the one who jihad his own self, against his own self, against the evil inclination, against the evil desires of your own self. You have to get out of that. It's only in the sense of self-defense, the defense of the people. And some, of course, there are so many different ways that have to be used. The way of negotiation, the way of agreements, the way of peaceful relationship, all of these things have to be done. But there are a few points that are very important. One of the principles that very much emphasized in Islam is, the Quran says, people we have created you from a single male and a single female. And we made you groups, tribes, nations, so that you may know each other. The best of you in the sight of God are those who are the most righteous of you. So Islam emphasizes that all human beings are one family. People of all colors, all races, all ethnicities, all religions, all we have to go back to one and the same parent. Our parents are the one and the same, Adam and Eve. And so we have to recognize this large human family that we are. And within this family, there are groups. So God recognizes groups. But groups are for what purpose? Groups are to despise each other, to fight each other, to say, I'm better than you, or my nation is better than your nation, my race is better than your race, my color is better than your color. No, not for that reason. My religion is better than your religion. No, not for that purpose. The only thing is so that you know each other. So that we establish relations and understand each other. So that's a very important point that we keep reminding. I remind my people, I remind myself, that we have to recognize all human beings are one family. And the second thing is that we should wish for others what we wish for ourselves. This is a golden rule, actually. This is a golden rule that is recognized in all religions. Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Zoroastrianism, Taoism, Confucianism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all these religions, and there is a whole chart that we have put all these religions together and this principle, the golden rule. And the golden rule is do not wish for others what you do not wish for yourself, or wish for others what you wish for yourself. If we follow that principle, this golden rule, a lot of the problems will be solved. Actually, a lot of the problems do not exist. But unfortunately, people have double standard. For my nation, there is one standard, for others, there is another standard. For my people, there is one standard, for other people, another standard. That is the cause of the problem. If we consider other person my brother, other person my neighbor, other person that has the same feeling. If somebody's family is lost, he will have the pain, the same thing as my family is lost, I have the pain. If somebody's land is taken, he will have the same feeling as my land is taken. If somebody is not given the freedom to express himself, to pray, and to live his or her life the way one, same thing applies to me. So I have to put myself in the shoes of the other person. I have to have empathy with the people who are suffering, people who are difficult, people who are expelled from their home, people who are slaughtered, the massacres that are taking place in different parts of the world. That is a horrible thing. And that no religion allows that. But unfortunately, people are doing that in the name of religions. So Islamophobia is saying that Muslims are doing that. And because some Muslims do that, that means all Muslims are doing that. Because some Muslims do that, it must be Islam that is teaching that. But if Christians do that, it's not Christianity. If Jews do that, it's not Judaism. If Hindus and Buddhists do that, no, it's not Hinduism and Buddhism. That's the problem. So we have to recognize our mistakes of all people, and try to improve ourselves. So there is a need for dialogue, there is a need for understanding. There is a need for building relations with the people. And I thank you very much for having this program. And God bless you. Thank you.
I just want to call upon Master Truong is here. He had mentioned that he had fear of Islam, but I think Dr. Siddiqui has done a wonderful job of removing the fear of Islam. Thank you. Our next speaker is Professor Manekji, who is a priest for Zoroastrian community, and he's also co-founder of Zoroastrian Association in Northern and Southern California, and he's also serving on executive committee for the Zoroastrian community. He's also a board member of the couple of the interfaith organization in this area. So please join me in welcoming Manekji.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. I thank the Jain community and the other organizers and volunteers for hosting this event on the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi at a period of great violence and divisions in our society and in the world at large, based on race, religion, national origin, and personal preferences. What are some of the obstacles to peace, and what can we do to promote peace today? Like many other great souls, Prophet Zarathustra, known as Zoroaster by the Greek philosopher who studied his teachings, saw the suffering of the people from violence, cruelty, greed, jealousy, etc. And so through meditation and divine revelation, he realized a solution and taught others how to create peace in one's own self and in society. Some of Zarathustra's teachings in the 5 sacred songs known as Gathas are as follows. Ushta Amai, Ushta Kamai Chit in the old ancient Avestan language, which means happiness to them who create happiness for others. Contentment is the greatest virtue. When people are not content, they want more, they are jealous of others, etc. That creates problem. Happiness to them who live a righteous life with good thoughts, good words, and good actions. And also he told his followers to think with your own good mind and your freedom to choose instead of blind faith in a person or a book or a tradition before speaking or before acting. Some obstacles to peace are ego and ignorance, which makes us believe that our God, our interpretation of religion, our intelligence is superior or the only true one. Another is blind faith in a person or a book, because the person themselves may be ignorant or may be misinterpreting things, or the book may have got additions or deletions that we may not know. The other is greed, jealousy, hatred, revenge, and neglect of the poor people. So what can we do to promote peace? We can agree that the creator or creative force, who we know by different names, has created different kinds of human beings. Just as we see different kinds of flowers, but are all equally deserving of human dignity. And therefore, we are all brothers and sisters in the global human family, with different physical appearances and attributes. We can agree that there is a spark of the creator or creative force that we may know by different names, such as soul, Atma, Ruhan, etc., which is the good spiritual part of all of us and deserves our respect regardless of our physical differences. We can agree that all religions have a common goal of creating happiness in society, and many common ethical teachings such as honesty, kindness, charity, justice, love, treating others as we would have them treat us, otherwise known as the Golden Rule. We can agree to use our God-given mind and intelligence to think and interpret our religious teachings rationally instead of with blind faith or in others or using selective parts from the teaching of our out of context. We have seen how blind faith in some religious leaders has led some followers to commit atrocities on followers of other religions and even followers of their own religion who have a slightly different belief. Would the Creator, who we consider to be the source of all creation, be happy to see some of his children being insulted, persecuted, hurt, raped, or killed? We can try to understand the real meaning of the word conversion, used in many holy books as converting from evil life to a righteous life. That is the real meaning of conversion. Such as converting alcoholics or drug addicts or criminals from a wrong and damaging behavior to a rehabilitated lifestyle with good habits that will bring true happiness for them and for society. We can stop trying to convert people from other religions to our religion because it implies a disrespect for other religions, and it can create hurt feelings in the families and the faith communities of converts and can lead to mistrust and divisions in society. Mahatma Gandhi called Christian missionaries as vendors of goods. He said, quote, "In Hindu households, the advent of a missionary has meant the disruption of the family coming in the wake of change of dress, manners, language, food and drink." He said, "If I had power and could legislate, I should certainly stop all proselytizing. I resent the overtures made to Harijans. Harijans were the lowest caste. Stop all conversion. It is the deadliest poison that ever sapped the fountain of truth." But we can sincerely agree on the above talks of Gandhiji and other great souls only if we understand the true meanings of the basic beliefs and traditions of each other's faiths, from knowledgeable, open-minded representatives of each faith. And we can only do that if we control our ego and listen to others with humility and open mind and through dialogue. Otherwise, in our ignorance and misconceptions about other faiths, we may keep thinking of ourselves as part of a superior race and religion and of others as inferior, dangerous, or evil. We should realize that we live in an increasingly diverse and global society and increasingly connected to each other in our neighborhoods, jobs, businesses, etc. Our security, happiness, and well-being depends on that of others at some point in time in some way. Therefore, it is in our interest to think of others and care for their well-being in our thoughts, words, and actions. In our fight for justice, we can draw upon the wisdom and examples of great souls in history and great leaders like Mahatma Gandhi of India, Martin Luther King of America, Nelson Mandela of South Africa, who acted with non-violence to achieve their goals for justice. In our efforts to achieve religious harmony, we can look at the lives of great leaders like the Persian Zoroastrian Emperor Cyrus the Great, the Mongol Muslim Emperor Akbar the Great, and the Christian priest Saint Francis of Assisi, who all practiced a level of respect for other religions. We should keep in mind that the struggle between good and evil is an eternal one, because basic human nature does not change. What happens over time are the power centers, tactics, technology, and weapons that are available. The road toward lasting peace is not easy and requires lots of patience, cultivation of mutual respect for other opinions, even if we may not agree on everything, and building relationships of trust and love over time. But considering the alternatives of hatred, violence, and extremism leading to nuclear war and end of life upon this planet Earth, it is the only road worth choosing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manikji. Our next speaker is Mr. Mark Curry, who is he will be talking on the perspective from the Baha'i faith. He is president of the Huntington Beach Interfaith and Huntington Beach Baha'i Assembly. So please welcome Mr. Mark Curry.
Thank you for inviting me here today. I want to do something a little bit different than what people have done before. So, let me set the stage a little bit for you. Close your eyes, if you will. Okay? Let me take you back in time. The city is London, The place is a Theosophical Society headquarters in downtown London. The date, September 30th, 1911, about 4 years or 3 years before the start of World War I. Open your eyes. Sitting on stage in a chair is a Persian man. He's about 60s, late 60s. He's wearing a white robe and a white turban. He has a long, white flowing beard. He stands and he approaches the podium and he speaks. O respected assembly, O friends of truth, the inherent nature of fire is to burn. The inherent nature of electricity is to give light. The inherent nature of the sun is to shine. And the inherent nature of the organic earth is to grow. There is no separation between a thing and its inherent nature. It is the inherent nature of things on earth to change. Thus, we see change all around us. We see it in the change of the seasons. Every spring is followed by summer. Every autumn comes a winter. Every day, a night. Every evening, a morning. There is a sequence to all things. Thus, when hatred, animosity, fighting, slaughtering, and great coldness of heart were governing this world, and darkness had overcome all of the nations, Baha'u'llah, like a bright star, rose from the horizon of Persia and shone with a great light of guidance, giving heavenly radiance and establishing a new teaching. He declared the most human virtues. He manifested spiritual powers and he put them into practice in the world around him. Firstly, he laid stress on the search for truth. This is the most important because people are too easily led by tradition. It is because of this that they are often antagonistic to each other and dispute with one another. But the manifesting of truth discovers the darkness and becomes the cause of oneness, if both faith and belief. Because truth cannot be two. That is not possible. Secondly, Baha'u'llah taught the oneness of humanity. That is to say, the children of men are under the mercy of the great God. They are all the sons of one God. They are all trained by God. He has placed the crown of humanity on the head of every one of the servants of God. Therefore, all nations and people must consider themselves as brethren. They are all descendants from Adam. They are all branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits of one tree. They are pearls from one shell. But the men of children need education and civilization. And they require to be polished till they become bright and shiny. Man and woman both should be educated equally and equally regarded. It is the racial, patriotic, religious, and class prejudice that has been the cause of the destruction of humanity. That's second. Thirdly, Baha'u'llah taught that religion is the chief foundation of love and unity, and the cause of the oneness of humanity. If a religion become the cause of hatred and disharmony, the world would be better that it should not exist. To be without such a religion is to be better than it is without. Fourthly, religion and science are intertwined with each other and cannot be separated. These are the two wings of the bird which humanity will fly. One wing is not enough. Every religion which does not concern itself with science is mere tradition, and that is not essential. Therefore, science, education, and civilization are the most important necessities for the full religious life. Fifthly, the reality of the divine religions is one, because the reality is one, and it cannot be two. All the prophets are united in their message and unshaken. They are like the sun, in different seasons coming up from different points on the horizon. Therefore, every ancient prophet gave the glad tidings of the future, and every future has accepted the past. Sixthly, equality and brotherhood must be established between all members of mankind. This is according to justice. The general rights of mankind must be regarded and preserved. All men are to be treated equally, and this is inherent in the very nature of humanity. Seventh, the arrangements of the circumstances of the people must be that poverty be eliminated, and that everyone, as far as possible, according to their position and rank, shall be comfortable, whilst the nobles and the rich on the high rank are in their circumstances. The poor must also be brought up so that the extremities are not seen in hunger. Eighthly, Baha'u'llah declared the coming of the most great peace. All the nations and peoples will come under the shadow of the tent of the great peace. That is to say, by general election, a great board of arbitration shall be established to settle the differences and quarrels between the powers, so that disputes shall end and there be no war. Ninthly, Baha'u'llah taught that the hearts must receive the bounty of the Holy Spirit, so that spiritual civilization may be established. The material civilization is not adequate for the needs of mankind and cannot be the cause of its happiness. Material civilization is like the body, and spiritual civilization is like the soul. Body without soul cannot live. This is a short summary on the teachings of Baha'u'llah. To establish this, Baha'u'llah underwent great difficulties and hardships. He was in constant confinement and he suffered great persecution. In the fortress prison of Akka, he reared a spiritual palace, and from the darkness of that prison, he sent out a great light to the world. It is the ardent desire of all Baha'is to put these teachings into common practice. And they will strive with heart and soul to give up their lives for this purpose until the heavenly light brightens the whole of humanity. I am happy that I have been able to talk with you this gathering, and hope that this deep consciousness of mine is acceptable to you. I pray for you that you may succeed in your aspirations, and that the bounties of the kingdom be yours. Those were the words of Abdul-Baha, the son of the founder of the faith, Baha'u'llah. His title, Abdul-Baha, meant servant to God, or servant of God. Welcome back to 2017. I hope the trip wasn't too bad for you. The question, was Gandhi in that room when he spoke in 1911? No, he wasn't. He was in South Africa by then. Okay? But many of the words, many of the thoughts, and many of the actions of Gandhi are echoed in the words of the Baha'i faith, and vice versa.
For as Gandhi says, I have nothing new to teach the world. The truth and nonviolence are as old as the hills. I want to leave you with one last quote that I find very personally poignant to me. And that is, your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts then become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values. Your values become your destiny. The future of what you do depends on what you do today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Curry. I want to really thank all of our speakers that they have stuck to their time and they have been very helpful to us to keep it on time. We are coming very close to the end of this program. We have one gentleman named Mr. Anwar Muhammad Khan. He wants to share some experience of his grandfather with Gandhi. So he'll be here for 2 minutes and then we'll be coming to the conclusion of our program. So we have Dr. Nitin Bhai Shah will be coming in for vote of thanks. Is he here? Oh, yeah.
Assalamualaikum. Peace be on to you. Thank you very much for giving me 2 minutes. I just want to share 2 things of Mahatma Gandhi. One is he was contemporary to my grandfather, Ali brothers, Maulana Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali, the freedom fighters of India. And he went to London, so he invited Mahatma Gandhi to join his movement. My grandfather did. And Mahatma Gandhi readily accepted and stated that your mission and my mission is identical to achieve freedom and peace in the world. So I would really like to join your organization. This happened in 1916. And he was in India and my grandfather was in London then. The second thing I want to share with of Mahatma Gandhi is Mahatma Gandhi in his life had 2 perspectives about Holy Prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam. The first he mentioned at one time in which he did not study Holy Prophet Muhammad thoroughly. Then subsequently after 2 years he wrote another article and he said, I would like to invite all of the mankind to read the life of Muhammad because when I read it perceptively, I found Holy Prophet Muhammad to be the ambassador of peace and tranquility in the world. So he sort of admonished all mankind or members of humanity to read the life of Muhammad. So in his words, I'm inviting all of you who are here to read and learn the life of Holy Prophet Muhammad. It is available at our mosque and can be sent to you at no charge if you would like to read. And the last thing I would like to say is the Holy Quran epitomizes all what we have said in one sentence. Allah Ta'ala says, the purpose of all religions who came, or religious leaders who came into this world from Adam to Muhammad, their sole purpose was twofold. First one was Ibadullah, you worship one God. Wajtanibut Taghut, and shun evil. Evil in all forms and all shapes. If we all do that and shun evil from the core of our heart, this world would become a peaceful place.
Thank you. I would invite Dr. Nitin Bhai Shah, who would be delivering a vote of thanks on behalf of Anekant Community Center. Thank you. everybody knows Dr. Nitin Bhai, but I should tell my profession anesthesiology, puts people to sleep. I think he's never been back yet. And he has served as a past president of this community, Jain Center, also served as president of Anekan Community Center, and still very active in a lot of humanitarian community activities all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to see many of you sticking around for few hours of presentation and learning from different faiths. We had so many speakers, so many faiths represented here. I don't think anything is left. We got lots of wisdom from people. And to be able to do that, I thank the President, Executive Committee and Board of Directors of Jain Center of Southern California, Board of Directors of Anekan Community Center, board members and the leaders of Indo-American Senior Heritage, and above all, Mrs. Ilaben Mehta, who has put together several of these seminars, and I'm sure she'll continue to do more. And my last thanks for the event are all of you. If you weren't here, all the speakers and the leaders really will be listening to each other. Everybody spoke about Gandhiji, reminded of a lot of things that he said, he shared, and he did. He, in my opinion, believed in religion of humanity. I don't think any religion today disagrees. And for most of this type of seminars, activities, etc., we gather, we applaud, we feel great, we learn many things which we knew. Not that we have forgotten, but it's always good to remind of good things. Ultimately, what is the final thing? I was in Haiti in 2010 after the earthquake, and in one of the India military base there, I read a beautiful quote. Action may not bring happiness, but there is no happiness without an action. And to follow that up, I think it behooves us to give thank you to that great man. And I challenge all of you. I propose to all of you, take a pledge, take a vow to yourself. In next 7 days, you will go and touch one human life who is neither your friend nor your family, as we are all obligated to help all of them. You will go and touch a life of a person that you have not known in next 7 days. If you believe in today's presentations and speeches, you will do it. You don't owe it to anybody else. You just owe it to yourself. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin Bhai. We'll have a word from Imam Mahmoud Zafarullah from Ahmadiyya community.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be on you. You know, you heard about the speech of the Master, and I am the one, the Imam, actually been connected there. But I just say that from tomorrow I am leaving from LA, Chicago. And today I excuse that I will not be able because everything I have to pack up and I have to fly and my schedule is busy. And I requested Ella that excuse me that I am not going to say a prayer. She asked me that I should say, but I said I will just pay visit. I came here, thank you very much. I spent 3 years here. Now I am transferred from here to Chicago. I am going to be the Imam in the Chicago and I will work there and my community is still here. New Imam will arrive and they will continue to work. Our motto is love for all, hatred for none. Thank you very much. This kind of friendship started from this center. I have great respect and honor of this center. Thank you.
Now, before I invite Dr. Dhiren Bhai Bhuj and Jalpa Bhatt, a couple of things. One is we want to thank Chuk Firm and Heman Bhai. Thank you very much for their support. Thanks to AV team who is always there to make this program successful. The food committee, which we enjoyed the lunch, intermission time with great food. All the volunteers who have put lots of time and effort, so let's thank them. And thank all the sponsors, those who have helped us to make this successful. And last but not least, thank to all of you. Without you, this program would not have been there. And thanks to all our speakers and guests. I will invite Ila Ben to introduce Dhiren Bhai and Jalpa Ben, and they will be singing the peace song. So let's invite Ila Ben, and thanks to Ila Ben and Guru Bhai. Ila Ben, you are next here.
Should I get 2 minutes? Today is okay. Okay. I got just now the feeling of great satisfaction. Last couple of days I was thinking what we are getting. But today I was counting, no. We are getting something. We meet together and like to sit together. That was the very important. Got very good satisfaction. And also, I'm dreaming? No. I'm hoping? No. It's a real action. 4 hours, 120, 240 minutes, and 200 people. If we multiply 48,000 minutes we put together, I'm pretty sure we have created some few drop of peace. At least we haven't done anything wrong for this last 4 hours. And I'm very happy inviting you next Gandhi Jayanti. We are planning a peace walk and lot of other activities. Just need your company giving you invitation in advance. There is no any kind of objection. Anybody from any religion, we will get together. And thank you for helping. And Indo-American Senior Association also helped very nicely. So I have to say thanks also. And now for the unity song, I will invite Jalpa Bhuj, and I will really request Dr. Bhuj here. It's a unity song. Come in unity.
Thank you so much for making us a part of this informative afternoon. The song that I'm going to present here is a Hindi song, and it's Jyot Se Jyot Jagate Chalo. And the gist of this song is just that let's pass on this lamp of love, let's light the lamp of love and pass it on. So I hope you guys enjoy.
ज्योत से ज्योत जगाते चलो, ज्योत से ज्योत जगाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो। राह में आए जो दीन दुखी, राह में आए जो दीन दुखी, सबको गले से लगाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो। जिसका नहीं कोई संगी साथी, ईश्वर है रखवाला। जो निर्धन है, जो निर्बल है, वो है प्रभु का प्यारा। प्यार के मोती, प्यार के मोती लुटाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो। कौन है ऊंचा, कौन है नीचा, सब में वही समाया। भेदभाव के झूठे भरम में ये मानव भरमाया। गर्व ध्वजा का, गर्व ध्वजा का फहराते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो। Thank you very much.
So with that message of Jyot Se Jyot Jagate Chalo, thank you very much, and thank you all for your patience and your commitment. I know you could have done so many other things going somewhere else on Sunday afternoon, but you came here and hung in there, so thank you. And let's thank Jain Center of Southern California, thanks to Anekant Community Center and IASH for their support and contribution to put up this program together. Thanks a lot, and have a nice evening, all of you. Have a nice and safe evening.